speak to you in the name of God, Creator, Redeemer, Sanctifier. Amen. There are now so many people on this earth that someone dies every second. So before you take your next breath, someone, somewhere, has breathed their last breath. And when someone we love dies, there is this moment of silence that we all keep for what is there to say. Cultures, peoples all over the world do this. Pause for a brief silence to ponder the passing of someone they care about. So think about it. Amidst the moment-by-moment clamor of noise all over the world, day by day, right now, amidst all that noise, there is also a continuous silence as someone, somewhere, is being grieved for. Even now, in this very moment. We just had one of those moments ourselves. In the Passion, there was a silence. It was longer, deeper, because it was about more than grief, as profound and painful as that is. Immediately after Jesus' 1-second one-liner, "It is finished," we stopped, dead in our tracks, and just stood there in a stupefied silence. Silence can mean many things, but the one that we just endured, the moment after Jesus breathed his last, has a deeper meaning. That silence is supposed to create the space where we reflect on the gravity of his death for us and for our salvation. That is what is supposed to fill that silence. And yet, sometimes when I come to Good Friday and dwell in that quiet moment after Jesus speaks his last, despite the fact that I know that I should be thinking about him, I'm thinking about myself. In that brief silence, I sometimes hear the same thought whispered time and time again. And that thought is, I know I can do this, but I can't do it alone. It's always when I'm going through something painful or profound in my own life. In that silence, I'm not thinking about Jesus' crucifixion. I'm thinking about my own experiences of darkness or death and what I'm going through at the time. And I'm also thinking about my own longings for light and new life. Those experiences that are part of all of our lives. Because from the moment we are born to the moment we die, We live that rhythm over and over and over again, just like we rehearse this passion over and over again. Grief to consolation, brokenness to healing, death to new life. And as one who has been there, the thought that first occurs to me when I enter that silence is, I know I can do this. I know I can do this because, like all of us, I lived through countless Good Friday moments. All of us have wandered into grief and know what those experiences of crucifixion are like. We know what it's like to be so stricken by a loss that you wonder if the part of you that died with your beloved will ever live again. We know what it's like to feel so bereft of joy and hope that it is sometimes a struggle just to keep on living. And we know what it's like to fundamentally doubt our own self-worth, to feel that we are incapable of loving or being loved by anyone, even God. Jesus felt all of that too. But despite those profound experiences of crucifixion, we are always led back to new life. Our pain and our grief transformed. And it is that experience of witnessing the crucifixion, but knowing that God's next breath is new life, that makes me whisper in the silence, I know I can do this. I know I can survive another pain, another grief. And yet, on the next mental breath comes the fear and doubt that whispers, but I can't do it alone. And I say that because it is Good Friday. And it is on this day that we are most poignantly and painfully aware that sometimes it feels as though we are doing it alone. Good Friday is that dark place in our faith where we confront the reality that in our deepest despair, it seems as though Jesus isn't there. Good Friday makes us most acutely aware that while much of our life is spent feeling God's presence, there are times when we all experience God's absence. Times when we feel as though we are doing it alone. Times when we feel that the Spirit of the living God itself has breathed its last and we have been abandoned. And yet, here we all are today, present for the worst moment of our faith lives. Here because, as an Easter people, we know that we have not been abandoned. Not in Jesus' crucifixion, and not in our own moments of pain. Because the truth of Good Friday that lies hidden in the tomb is this: to be born to new life, you have to die. Those experiences of crucifixion are not the end. They are just preparation for a new beginning. A new life that will see your grief transformed into consolation, see death become new life. So, when we think that what we are experiencing is God's absence, when our sorrow makes us feel as though we are lying in the tomb utterly forsaken, we come to Good Friday to be reminded that Christ is lying right there with us, preparing us to be resurrected with him. Good Friday is preparing us for redemption and for the most profound truth of our lives, and that is, the tomb is not where life ends. It's where new life begins. But the journey from death to new life is not easy. The experience of Good Friday, of grief, despair, abandonment, is literally as tough as nails. But in the words of my whispered prayer, you can do this. Whatever you're going through in your life, whatever we are going through in the world. Because even although we go into the darkness of the tomb, that darkness is not forever. The time between death and new life, from when we utter our own "it is finished" to when we emerge from the tomb, is just one pregnant pause into which new life is reborn. We can do this, but we can't do it alone. And when the silence ends, when we emerge with Jesus from the tomb and our lives are born anew, it is then that we realize that we don't have to. In just a moment, our focus will shift entirely. We will think no longer of ourselves, but of him who died and rose for us, as we said last night. Because the rest of this day is not about us. Only that brief silence was. The rest of this day is about the God who loved us so deeply that she sacrificed everything. And right now, I will say the one word, 1 second sentence that we utter over and over again when we gather to proclaim our faith. And when I say Amen, someone, somewhere, will have died. But think of this. As important as it is to wonder who died, we are called to ponder the gravity of who died for them. Amen.